everybody, we're coming at you with another Modern Quick Hits video. These are quick looks at decks that have had recent results either in a Modern challenge or some type of preliminary or something that might pop up here and there that aren't necessarily top tier meta decks that you'll see pop up here and there. This is Polymorph combo or Transmogrify combo. Basically, you're trying to cheat an Emrakul into play. You're not getting the cast effect off of something like Tybalt's Trickery, but still, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn is a very difficult creature to deal with. Oftentimes, you can only deal with it either with a sweeper, something like Oblivion Ring or Detention Sphere, which don't see play, or I guess On Thin Ice could technically target it. Beyond that, how are you trying to get this creature into play in a deck that's playing no creatures otherwise? You're starting off with Transmogrify and Polymorph, which are your ways to get the Emrakul. Basically, it says destroy target creature and then flip over the top of their deck until you find a creature. Well, whenever you're only playing 2 creatures in the deck, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit that creature, as long as you haven't drawn both of them. As far as how to get creatures into play, you're using Dwarven Mine and a bunch of mountains, much like Mystic Sanctuary before it got banned. This has a very powerful effect whenever you come into play with 3 mountains. It doesn't put a spell back on the top of your deck. Instead, you get a 1/1 dwarf. Not the most exciting of effects, but it does allow you to have a creature in a basically creatureless deck otherwise. So this deck is based around mountains as opposed to based around islands like Mystic Sanctuary was. Mystic Sanctuary was definitely the outlier in that thing. I can't even remember what the green one. I think the green one gives like a +1/+1 counter or something. The black one puts a creature card back on top of your library. Yeah, Mystic Sanctuary was definitely the outlier in this set of lands. But Dwarven Mine, we're taking advantage of that. And then outside of that, we have Cloud Form, which basically lets you manifest the top card of your deck, and then it becomes a 2/2 flying creature with, importantly, hexproof that can't be targeted by your opponent, so you can Transmogrify or Polymorph without having to worry about getting blown out by like a Fatal Push or something. Beyond that, you're using something like Teferi Time Raveler in an otherwise primarily blue-red control deck. You're using this to keep your opponent from interacting in a key turn. And then beyond that, you're just kind of a light control deck. You're using things like Lightning Bolt, Spell Snare, Remand, Mana Leak, Force of Negation, Anger of the Gods, Repeal to keep your opponent at bay. And then, as we mentioned, your land base is mostly mountains because, you're trying to set up Dwarven Mine. I don't even know if there's an island in the deck. Nope, just 2 basic mountains. So, you really can't fetch basic island, which can be problematic in some matchups. But, you're also kind of immune to boil, which is kind of hilarious. And you also, you're trying to set up Dwarven Mine, so you definitely need an emphasis on mountains. Whether you should have a basic island or not, play around something like Blood Moon, don't know. Never played this deck myself, so I couldn't really speak to that. Beyond that, 4 copies in the sideboard, 4 copies of Leyline Sanctity, primarily here for burn and discard. 3rd copy of Cloud Form when you need more uninteractable creatures. 4 copies of Rest in Peace. Whoever made this deck really doesn't like graveyard decks, obviously. 3 copies of Chain of the Rocks. Pretty decent when you need some more hard removal. And then 3 copies of Dispel when you need a little bit more interaction to protect the combo. So that is Polymorph combo. Let's see how it does in a match. We are back with a match. We have a Transmogrify in play, or in our hand, a Bolt, and 3 lands, so we're definitely keeping. Alright. Just going to grab a Steam Vents here and bolt the bird, so to speak. Just want to slow down our opponent. If we're up against Heliod, I wouldn't mind that. Probably one of the two Emeralds could be problematic. Guess that allows us to pitch. It's one of the reasons Is a Charm was in the deck I wasn't thinking about. Doing this because we actually want to hit another land. But I should probably wait to see if we had a an Emrakul still in the deck, but I guess they were smart enough to realize that. Spellsnare is kind of meh against them. Like, it has some targets, but most of their big stuff is 3 mana or more. Force of Negation's like okay, but not like fantastic. One of the things about tournament practice rooms, like sometimes you get like interesting brews and sometimes you get tier decks, and it's actually, I've actually noticed an uptick of like tier decks in the tournament practice room, and I really can't complain about that. This hand doesn't really have much of anything other than Anger of the Gods. Don't think that's good enough. This hand's at least interesting. Question is, what am I putting back? Is it Charm, probably? No. Force of Negation? I'll put Force of Negation back. Being unable to answer that this time could be problematic, but can always bounce like a Heliod or something. Continue to hold up Mana Leak here. Again, mana base, very painful. Alright, that should set us up for the win, probably. I can attack Teferi, I don't particularly care. They have path, they have path. I still think we go for it here. Well, they had the path, but you know they didn't. They didn't path it, so Once again, very interesting deck. You know, in some ways, that's kind of like Through the Breach, except you know we're vulnerable a little bit to removal, so was kind of trying to catch our opponent without a chance to have like Collected Company for Skyclave Apparition or any of that. Actually, Skyclave wouldn't hit the token. Never mind. Had to be path. Really puts these creature combo decks in some interesting spots, doesn't it? You know, they have to bring in removal against a control deck. It's kind of the opposite of what you do want to do against control. But Emrakul is Emrakul. Big Mama wins the game a lot of times, especially when it's, you know, permanently in play. So, deck's a lot of fun. Once again, if you want to see this kind of deck again, please comment down below, give us a thumbs up, and you might see this again in some more matches, or maybe even a league. This has been John for MTG Nexus.